Welcome back, Mind Your Biz audience. In today's episode of the Creator Highlights series, it's such a great privilege to have with us Ben Armstrong from BitBoy Crypto. He is the BitBoy himself. He's been much talked about, much maligned, but also talked about very positively based on a lot of his efforts out in Bahamas with regards to blowing the whistle on the whole FTX debacle, which we've noticed, has actually imploded. So a lot of those predictions have come to fruition. Ben, welcome to the channel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Anytime we get to talk crypto, it's a good day. Obviously, Sam under arrest here in the United States, also making it a great day for a lot of people flipping on him. Very exciting time. And I know you can attest to this. It's definitely a much more interesting bear market than the last one was.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Thank goodness too, right? It gives us some stuff to talk about. We didn't have nearly as much dirt, though I've heard through the grapevine, Crypto Blood, I think, mentioned recently that the Quadriga CX founder has come back from the dead. We'll see what that's all about.
That's what they said.
Yeah, but yeah, no end to the interesting times that we're going through during the bear market. We also have with us, back by popular demand, Nicole Grinstead, aka Nerd Girl, aka the heaviest hitting person that you never knew you always wanted to be talking about crypto. She's behind the scenes, but she's also in front of the camera yet again. Welcome back, Nicole.
Thanks for having me, Seth, and Ben. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so in today's episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally, I would ask about the backstory, like essentially what turned you into a superhero or supervillain, right, in crypto. And in today's episode, we're going to do something in between. This is going to go to print, and it's also going to debut on the Mind Your Biz channel at about the same time. So this is not going to be released the same day that we record it. And we have a series of questions that a lot of people are curious about. Because Ben, again, as mentioned before, you're sometimes maligned in the eyes of some people. You're the guy, because you're so visible, people love to hate. And so we just wanted to cut to the bottom of it and figure out, okay, straight from Ben's lips, what's your answer to the most burning questions that people have that might make them feel like you should be maligned or make you feel like you should be praised? So that was, that's what today's episode's all about. I'm going to kick it off to Nicole to ask you a couple of questions, and it's going to be Q&A style for the audience's benefit, just so that Ben has been furnished with all these questions before we interviewed. That's what we believe is fair and objective journalism, having some integrity, is letting people know what you're going to ask so they have an opportunity to give a thoughtful response. So those already been sent over to Ben.
That said, it's possible that some additional questions may come up, right? Like I'm not trying to, to throw Ben under the bus in any way, but depending on how the answers go, there may be a couple that you have.
Y'all send me the questions. I didn't look at a single one. I just roll off the cuff. That's how I go. I wouldn't even know the difference.
Yeah. Okay. Ben, I think one of the things is that recently you've been attacked a lot, right? There have been
recently, over the last couple of years. It's been a long time.
Over the last couple of years, but really specifically within the last 6 months or so, it seems like it's really amped up. So there have been accusations that Twitter accusations. There have been multiple hit pieces published in media, published on YouTube, across social platforms. And one of the biggest concerns, or one of the biggest accusations, has been that you promoted tokens or coins for pay without disclosing that to your viewers.
Yeah, that's not real. I disagree. I don't think that's an accusation we get a lot, actually.
Okay.
I think so basically in the history of my channel, I think we've got about 4,000 videos, at least, maybe closer to 5,000 now. I'm not even sure what the number is. For a long time, I said we had never done a single undisclosed video. I've never done a single undisclosed video. Zach found one video from NFT Alpha that was a channel that we incubated on our page that, due to an oversight, had one sponsored segment that did not get disclosed. And we had a meeting about it, and we tried to get down to the bottom of what occurred there. And it was basically where, during the section where they would usually do the disclosure, they did basically a promo for NFT NYC. This was for last year. And so out of all the videos we've ever done, we had one. I would actually argue that because we disclosed, that's why we get attacked so much. Because we disclosed every single video that we've ever done that was sponsored, which, by the way, we've said we'll never do another coin or token sponsorship again. Between January and December, we didn't do a single sponsorship on this channel. We now have gone back to doing some exchange partners, tax software partners, wallet partners. We have done some of those now. We've returned to this year because it's bear market. We have a lot of employees here. We need to bring in some income. We give away all our YouTube money to our NFT holders of Pluto Alliance. I said that real weird. Pluto Alliance. In my opinion, I think it's because we had a media sheet that was public that showed our rates at some point, and because we did do so many sponsor videos. But when I say so many, it was still less than 5% of our content. It was just quantity, we put out so many videos that if you literally look at the number, it's a lot of videos. We've never done undisclosed videos. I've never personally done an undisclosed video. I think that was the mantle that was handed down from 2017 was sponsored videos were how channels monetized back then. In 2017, they were mostly undisclosed. So when I took on my channel, I said, I'm going to do things differently. I wanted to do them all disclosed because I felt that was an injustice that they did. And so in my opinion, that's not something we get attacked for a lot. People like to say stuff, but there's no weight there. So I think if people are saying that we did undisclosed, they're barking up the wrong tree.
Sure. And then after some time, you actually ended up, I believe, paying Zach XBT for uncovering the alleged
solo undisclosed video by another channel that was incubated on our site. I really probably it was really peer pressure that made me send that money to him. What happened was there was another guy who made a tweet about me with one of my mugshots. A lot of people know that I come from an addiction background from
Grinding Poet. Yep.
From 2000 to 2007, I was sick in an addiction. July 29, 2007, I overdosed. I was in a coma for 3 days, almost died, was in the ICU for 8 days, went straight to jail. Went to rehab for 2 years, changed my life, been sober ever since. So he put out this mugshot of me from back in 2006, maybe, like it was going to damage me. And I was like, no, thank you. I've been looking everywhere for these mugshots. They've disappeared off the internet. Thank you so much. And he said, oh, I like that BitBoy better. Like he wasn't doing undisclosed videos. And I said, if you can find one undisclosed video on my channel, I'll give you $10,000. Because I knew he couldn't do it because it didn't exist. Well, lo and behold, because of an oversight for another channel that was incubated on my page, there was one. And Zach found it. And so I never agreed to pay Zach any money. It had nothing to do with that. So we took it to the audience and we did a poll and we said, where should this money go? So we were going to give the money back. It was $15,000 for that sponsored video. In reality, it was like $1,250 because $2,500 went to a marketing agency. But we just bit the bullet. So we'll give the $15,000 away. So we asked where they wanted to go. Should we give it to FTX users? Should we give it to Zach? Or should we give it to Grinding Poet? Grinding Poet got about 2% on the poll. Nobody wanted to give him any money because he sucks. But people wanted me to give the money to Zach. And so I'm a man of my word. And we sent $10,000 to Zach. And then actually today we announced our contest winners. 5 FTX users that lost money. We made them submit screenshots. They had accounts. We sent them $1,000 in USDC. So we paid all $15,000 back.
That was a very nice thing of you guys to do. That's great. Thanks for clearing that up.
Sure.
Yeah. Seth, do you want to? Now we're in FTX territory, so I know you have some FTX related questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know that there was the invite with some of the influencer scene to meet up with you in Bahamas, and I apologize that we weren't able to make it. It looked like it was a lot of fun, and that you guys discovered a lot of really cool things here. I'm curious, your position on the implosion of FTX and why you believe that you have like the source of truth. Because a lot of people are saying, look, there's a lot of data that needs to come out. And certainly Mr. Wonderful is saying, we need to wait for all the facts to come out. Air quotes, all the facts. We got to wait. No, slow down, Ben. You can't just go making wild accusations. So help my audience understand what gives you that strength of conviction with your stance on FTX.
I no longer need a strength of conviction. The indictment came out yesterday. We saw everything. We saw what Caroline and Gary Wong, I pronounce it Wang, what he said about what they said about Sam. Here's what's so interesting. Did you happen to read the plea? Did you see did you see who owns Alameda?
I didn't see Caroline's plea bargain, no.
When people say Alameda, who are they talking about?
I think primarily I associate it with SBF directly.
Okay. We have Caroline as the CEO, but in terms of ownership, 90% owned by SBF, 10% owned by Gary Wang. When we say Alameda, we're saying Caroline, Sam, and Gary. That's it. There's not more to it than that. And that's what's so fascinating is we've been referring to Alameda as some kind of third party with all these mysterious players. It's not. It's Sam. It's Gary.
It used to be part of Sam's Twitter profile. Like his actual handle was SBF Alameda before he changed it to SBF FTX.
Which Sam Trabucco, the former CEO, still has his handle as Alameda Trabucco. What an idiot. This guy's going to probably go and do some time in prison as well for extortion. But look, we've been following this story from the very beginning and we have more evidence. We were very focused on the project side, not necessarily on the retail investor side. So we missed the insolvency at first. We were really focused on the fact that there was a fake market. So the long and the short of how this happened, how this went down is I sent a bill to FTX for funding. They sent it over to Mark Wetjen, who's the CFTC commissioner, former CFTC commissioner, who's their policy head. He sat on it for 3 weeks. One of our political backers called him. I was like, why are you sitting on our bill? And he said, we're not going to do it. We're sabotaging the bill. Sam's trying to work on his own regulation, a bit license. We want you to leave BitBoy and come work for us. That pissed me off. And so not only did that piss me off from a personal perspective that Sam literally tried to steal one of my backers of my bill, but also you're doing a federal bit license? Oh, I've really misjudged you. You're really a bad person. And so we talked about this for a month on the channel. Finally, it comes out. That's what they're doing. And all of a sudden, all his enemies start coming out of the woodworks and sending me emails and messages and things like that. Basically, we got hooked up with Hussein Faraj, he's the CEO of New Genesis Network. Coin was the name of the coin. Their coin was absolutely destroyed by Alameda in a 48-hour period when it got listed on the liquid exchange, supposedly as Alameda as a partner, and then they dumped it from 35 cents to 1 penny in 48 hours, completely destroying all the stuff they had worked on for 10 years. And Hussein had all the data. He had been positioning for a settlement, because if you look at what FTX did with all these projects, when people would find out Alameda was doing wrong, they would just settle with them. If you look at Casper Labs, they got like a $2.5 million settlement. Alameda stole $225 million from them. And they got a $2.5 million settlement, so they couldn't talk. So there's a lot of things going on in the background that people don't. Hussein was trying to get a settlement with them. He wasn't really, though. He never was going to settle. He went through meeting after meeting. They ended up offering him $40 million to settle, and he said no, because all he cared about was getting the audio and video recordings from these meetings for the settlements. And so we have so many audio and video recordings of Alameda and FTX admitting wrongdoing, admitting counterfeiting tokens, admitting creating fake markets, admitting dumping projects, admitting extortion, admitting directives to delete evidence so regulators don't find it one day. And now you look at where we're at and they say, oh, they kept such bad books. No, they didn't. They deleted everything. That's what they did. So we've known all along this was going on. The thing that we didn't do is we didn't put one and one together and realize that because of the fake market, when customers would take profits, they would remove the real liquid assets, only leaving the counterfeit. And that's how these insolvency holes really began to come to light. You say, how could they have lost money in this if they could see all the trades? And it was basically, they were just like, instead of keeping the real assets on there, they were allowing people to withdraw them. And then they were taking the real customer funds and they were investing in other things that flopped, is how all that happened over time. I still think the insolvency hole is not nearly as big as they say that it is. We know they found $1 billion in cash. We know that they have between $300 million and $1 billion in the Bahamas in real estate. We don't have no idea how much real estate and art and other assets they have around the world. But we believe, especially after talking to Icebag from Twitter on a space recently, he got bringing up this point. I tend to agree with him that the insolvency hole is not nearly as big. They just found a way to embezzle the money and it's floating out there somewhere.
Got it. Okay. So it sounds like your belief is that the process will be able to claw back some of these funds and make at least some customers whole at some point. So
one of the things we've done in the Bahamas, right, is I have a civil lawsuit. We have a civil lawsuit that got filed yesterday against Sam Bankman-Fried and against FTX. And it's really against the Bahamian government as well, because we're trying to prevent the Bahamian government from seizing all of those real estate assets for themselves. That's what they're trying to do, because they were not. That's
what federal governments do. I think it's all that's all part of the matrix that we're trying to break out of with cryptocurrencies. Part of it is the state. So I've got some criticisms about recurring to anything from the state to try to defeat the state's approach to exerting mass control. But it's tough.
The difference is here is the Bahamian government operates a lot different than the United States government. It's a lot smaller and it's a lot easier to go after them and get them to bend to your will. And so that's what we're going to do. I just got a text a few minutes ago that the Bahamian government is freaking out over my lawsuit and they're already trying to settle with us. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure the Bahamian government does not seize these assets. And we're making sure, because it's under FTX property holdings and Alameda property holdings, those two companies are not included in the bankruptcy. So all this money that was embezzled out to buy real estate in the Bahamas, it's not included in the overall money or the overall pie. We're trying to move those back into the bankruptcy so people have a better shot. We're talking about up to $1 billion.
Got it. Okay, so this is the contribution that the Bit Squad and that you've placed into helping claw back the funds to make these customers whole. Then, just make sure that it actually appears on the books. Pardon my my ignorance, and pardon me slowly connecting the dots there. Can I ask, as far as the people who are saying you're just clout chasing? I mean, now it's a matter of public record that you're doing these things, right? That these lawsuits exist. Yeah. So I mean, but the accusation still comes at you. I know it's a cheap accusation. What do you say to people who are saying you're just chasing clout?
Look, who else is doing what we're doing? That's what I would say. Who are we chasing? Nobody else is kicking down doors and getting answers like us. And at the end of the day, that's what's important. Did I know when I went down to the Bahamas a few weeks ago it was going to break Twitter? Yeah, of course. Obviously. I knew when we were down there at the Albany But is that why we did it? No, we went down there to get answers. And so people can shade however they want to shade it. But the reality is our results speak for themselves. And we played a big role in this from the very beginning. In our community, the Bit Squad has played a big role in this. And we're going to play a big role in people getting their money back. So if you think I'm doing it for clicks, but at the end of the day, you get your money back, then why does it really matter? But what is going to happen is we've had a documentary film crew that's been with us for most of what we've been doing since before. They were with us before the insolvency announced. They were already tracking what we were doing against FTX. People are going to see, we just really care. And it's going to come out. And when people watch the documentary, they're going to know. And that's what's going to happen. And if people still want to believe, they're going to believe whatever they want. And so be it.
Awesome.
Haters,
well,
yeah,
thanks for
haters.
letting me just throw that out there.
Yeah, haters are going to hate for sure. But so aside from the accusations that you guys are you were just chasing clout, or that you were just attempting to reconcile an image, there's some even worse accusations, which are that you're under investigation, as you've been public about having received a subpoena.
Yeah.
So there's some people saying that you're actually doing all of this because you're working with government agencies to try and in order to.
I'm part of the deep state psyop.
Yeah,
It's a false flag mission, everybody. I went and met with Alex Jones to talk to him about false flags. So, no, guys, that's not what's going on. Our lawyers have told us we shouldn't be, which drives me insane. I shouldn't be talking about our SEC stuff. But you, as a member of the Hex community, you can probably do some math here, or some 2 + 2, and figure out what 4 is on what we have been asked about. That's all I'll say on that. If you're in the Hex community, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. That is what it is based around. Some things that some other people have gotten as well. But I'm just trying to do what our lawyers are saying is the best thing. We're not the target. We are not the target of this, of the SEC letter that we received. It's basically part of an investigation trying to find out about someone else, something else, other projects, and we're not affiliated with any of those projects in any way. So it's really a big nothing burger, but our lawyers have told me I'm not supposed to talk about it, which kind of pisses me off. I really want to say, I want to come out and tell everything, but I can assure you we're not working with. Anyway, I can tell you, if you were in the courtroom and saw the way that the FBI and the IRS were looking at us when we walked in, they were not happy that we were there.
So just because I have you on the topic, let me just ask you your opinion, if you can give it to me.
Yeah.
So the people who are under investigation because they're part of the Hex community.
They're not under investigation. I'll be very clear. They're not under investigation. Someone else is under investigation, and they're being asked about their relationship with this person or this project.
And so, in your opinion, is that project or person guilty of what the SEC wants them to be guilty of?
Absolutely not. No, not. I could have shut this case down a long time ago. It only takes 5 minutes to tell you that this person did not do what they said that he did. Everybody knows that. I think it's more the auxiliary projects that are in the orbit of that project is really, I think, what this fishing expedition is about, trying to find out more info on, which I don't have any info on.
I would agree with you there. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Everybody can read between the lines. If you can read between the lines, then, man, you know exactly what's popping.
Yeah, maybe we can ask some questions that don't require euphemisms and code words. And
yeah, sorry, we got in a tangent.
Yeah, no, fair enough, though. Here's the thing. Hey, if you're watching this media after the fact, thumbs up for the Hex community that's dealing with some of the same stuff. If you're here from the Bit Squad, obviously reach across the aisle and shake hands with the Hexicans who are watching this right now. It seems like there's already a lot of goodwill, actually, between those two communities.
I feel like the Hexican community and the Bit Squad really have aligned and really come together in the last year or so.
Yeah. I agree. And people know I've been neutral on the project itself, but we do like the community. We love the community. And I think that we have a lot of the same values that align. And it's because we don't turn anybody away that wants to be part of what we're doing with the Bit Squad.
That's awesome. Speaking of which, let's see if we can turn some people towards this. I've got a terrible segue here. I'm just going to let it go. So I want to ask a different question.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this guy, Hussein Faraj, you mentioned, and him doing all these recordings and turning down the $40 million settlement just in favor of getting those recordings. That sounds like some pretty concrete evidence for an expose. Pardon my ignorance if you've already published some of this, but is there a plan to publish all of it or most of it? Or
well, we can't publish all of it because it's part of legal proceedings. So we did, if people go to our website, bitboycrypto.com, you'll see at the very top, right under the top, there's a yellow bar and it says evidence. You can click that. It will take you to actual transcripts of some of the audio recordings. We also published a video with one of the audio calls between the CEO of FTX Japan and someone from Alameda. Can't remember exactly who it was from Alameda. I think it was John Wu possibly, and Faraj, and Hussein Faraj. And they're admitting like, oh yeah, we create synthetic assets out of nowhere. A lot of exchanges do it. Like we got them on air saying that. We have actually, so the Maxine Waters trial that occurred last week, we gave a folder of all of the evidence to Maxine Waters. We have other people in Congress that we've been working with as well that we've given this evidence to. We have major players in Congress, including maybe some of the incoming leadership for the House, waiting on this real estate evidence that we have it all from the Bahamas and it's all in our lawsuit, but getting it from the Bahamas to here is proved to be a little bit more difficult, but they're coming to us and asking us for the evidence. So you guys are going to see in some of these hearings that come out, is going to be our evidence that we have that nobody else has in America. No one in America, not one person in America has the real estate evidence but us.
Wow. And let me ask you this, as far as being able to track the results of submitting that evidence to these various parties, because it sounds like some of it has been done in a more personal way where you're working directly with these representatives and you're handing off this essentially dossier, right, filled with FTX and Alameda related stuff. Is there any way that you could publish a canary page or a canary system where we can just know not the contents of what you submitted to them, but who you submitted it to, so that we see some public accountability to these publicly elected officials? Because I would hate for you to go through all that effort and then discover that some of these people just say, okay, I don't have to present this, or I don't have to go public with this. Like, this is damning information.
Oh, yeah.
And I would want to know that if you submitted this kind of hard evidence to any of these people, that if they fail to talk about it, that they're not serving the interests of the American people, and that they should be voted out of office.
I'll say with Maxine Waters, and people know me, they know people know I'm conservative. People can't figure that out. You haven't really watched the channel before. But when it comes to crypto, we're bipartisan. And Maxine Waters, we have a good relationship with her through some of our lobbyists we use for our bills and through some of our political connections. Personally, I've never spoken to her one-on-one, but we gave her the evidence. She's the outgoing lead of the House because the Republicans are taking over in January. I don't think basically we had a one-stop shop. We gave her the evidence right before the trial. I don't even know if she had time to go over all of it. It was actually, we gave it to her the day Sam got arrested. And so the next day was the hearing. And obviously some of our stuff did not necessarily come up in that hearing, but I don't think there's
She's a lame duck.
Yeah, she's a lame duck. She's still in Congress, so she still has power, but she's not going to be the leader of the House anymore, or of that committee. So really it's going to be up to Kevin McCarthy is most likely going to be the leader of the House. If something happens, Patrick McHenry, who's a very pro-crypto guy, is right up behind him. So between those two people, we believe our real estate evidence is going to get through to them. And I do believe what you're saying is good. I think if it goes a direction where these people are not holding them accountable on this stuff, that could be something we do. But I have full confidence that they are going to get held accountable. We've had talks with some high-level politicians, and we think it is. Look, Sam has no friends in Congress. That's what people have to understand. He has no friends in the politicians. He gave them money.
Well, my concern, Ben, sorry for the interruption. My concern is that I don't think that anybody has a friend in politicians when it comes to the federal government. I don't think any of them are.
When you have money, they do. When you have money,
and that's
more money, you do.
Exactly. So, I think that politicians, like high-level business people, tend to do what's right after there are no other options available to them. So that's why I'm wondering about having something that keeps them more publicly accountable, holds their feet to the fire early on in the process, so we can just say, hey, the public knows that this was submitted to you. Allow WikiLeaks. Maybe it can just be some kind of proof of the submission can be put on IPFS somewhere, just so it's time-stamped and people can see it. No, we kept the receipts on this. We don't see the contents of it. But like you're saying, all this effort that you put in and that the community that you've cultivated have put into this gets the recognition that it deserves because it's timely. Maybe that's why I'm suggesting it.
Yeah, there is a plan. Like I'll say this, like this is why I'm kind of pushing back against this idea a little bit, because there is a plan in a way that all of this comes out in a very public way that we're involved with. So that's all I can really say. I would just say watch over the next 6 weeks, and I think people are going to see that all of this is going to become very clear, and we're going to be a major player in it. Soon. It's going to be impossible for people on Twitter and other places to say we were not heavily involved with all this.
Fair enough. Okay, awesome. Yeah, and for my part, again, like selfishly, I mostly just want to see people who work for the federal government to be held a lot more accountable for outcomes. Fair. Again, being bipartisan about it, I don't care, left, right, center, yellow, green, we'll include them too. I'm tired of people getting voted into office and then immediately betraying public trust.
I'm probably going to run at some point. We've decided probably. I'm probably going to get in there myself, maybe in 4 to 8 years.
Okay, well, we need to say
I'm tired of these people not being held accountable.
Yeah, blink 3 times if they're making you do things against your as soon as you're elected. But yeah, I'm a little worried about what happens after they swear you in. Ben,
they can change me. They can't turn me. I know that. So
okay, don't get Epstein either. Just saying. If Ben Armstrong is not suicidal, make it trend on Twitter.
Everybody knows that. Right. Sorry.
Awesome. On that note, Nicole, I should probably hand it back to you before we go too far down a tinfoil hat rabbit hole here. But
Yeah.
What other questions do you have?
Yeah, so let's go into, you've taken a lot of actions on this matter. You're saying that there's a lot of things being documented behind the scenes that will soon be revealed to the public regarding what you and the Bit Squad have done about exposing FTX and regarding the FTX case. Have you taken any actions or made any decisions related to this that you regret now, or that you would do differently if you had it to do again?
I gotta say, I don't think I would. I think the one thing is I was very sure who the whistleblower was, and I still think that this person is related somehow, and they tell me they're going to tell me the story at some point. But we were wrong on who the main whistleblower was. The main whistleblower was Ryan Salame. Or Salome. He was in the Bahamas. He blew the whistle. He's in the He's in the affidavit, the indictment from the Bahamian government. So we know that he's the one that blew the whistle originally in the Bahamas. I do believe there are people in the United States that were also involved with this, but we don't have 100% proof. I exhibited all of my proof to the person I think it was the whistleblower, and they didn't deny any of the allegations that I had towards them, which made me think that, and they did answer me, and they did not deny any of it, which makes me think this person was somewhat involved in the whistleblowing. That's the one thing I wish I leaned too heavy on who it was before we knew who it was. And that there's a chain of events that is very important that depends on if this person was involved or not. So that's the one thing I think that looking back that maybe we made a little bit of a mistake on, but we didn't say publicly 100% who we thought it was. That's just more private. I wish I would have held my horses a little bit on that, but I'd say no. In general, I think we followed. I wish we went down there a little bit earlier, because once we went down there, then everybody started going down there. So if we would have gone down there a little earlier, maybe we could have got answers a little bit quicker. I like to say what we did was we threw a digital sledgehammer through Sam's window at his apartment. And then all of a sudden, once people realized that, then everybody knew that they could go down there and it wasn't a problem. But no, I don't have any regrets about how we've done things here with the Bit Squad. And I think that this tale has not truly been told yet. And when it does get told, I think people are going to see that we were on it from the very, very beginning.
That's awesome. Let me ask, as far as, let's close it down, because I know you got a hard time limit, and I think a couple of us do. Last question, I guess, would be, unless Nicole has anything else after this, leave room for a follow-up.
I have some, but yeah, I can do follow-up. So we can have those exclusive for the magazine.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I think the last question that I have for the Mighty Biz audience is this: just have you been involved in promoting centralized lending or yield platforms? How do you reconcile the difference between any kind of a centralized service, whether it is a wallet that allows for centralized custody, or it is any other kind of like trading desk or anything else that has a centralized component to it? How do you reconcile that and what you're doing with those platforms and what's happening with FTX? Do you have any concerns about there being that level of centralization in any product that you promote?
Look, I guess you're referring to BitGet, which is a exchange that's our exchange partner that we've been using. That's an exchange partner we've been using. Every time we say it, we try to give the disclaimer. Remember, it's a third-party site. It's humiliating to have to like be an exchange these days and be like, someone's going to promote you, but then the same breath they're going to be like, but be careful. That's what we do. We give disclaimers. Look, here's the facts. The facts is right now, as of today, there is not a decentralized exchange where you can do margin and leverage trading with full liquidity. If everybody left Bybit and everybody left FEMEX and everybody left BitGet and they went to, let's say, DXY, there's not enough liquidity there to handle leverage trading. So what that means is that you have, as bad as
isn't that evidence that all of them are printing their own synthetics?
No, I'm saying the decentralized exchanges do not have the liquidity.
And I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering,
what does that have to do with
a potential? Isn't that a potential data point signaling that all the centralized options may be printing their own synthetics in order to offer you that leverage?
No, I don't think so. I think they have just big market makers. We have BitGet has the proof of audit. They've had their audit done. And we tell people, regardless of this, be cautious, obviously. I say this about Binance. I think Binance is solvent. I think Binance is fine. I think Binance is a strong company. Don't keep your money on there. The only people who should be having their money on exchanges are people who are active traders and you need your trading liquidity from your account. And I will tell people this, though, there is a large decentralized exchange coming that should be able to solve this problem. And when this happens, assuming the liquidity is there, like people think it's going to be, it's a massive exchange moving to decentralized. That should solve a lot of these issues of custody where you don't have to give up your custody. In 10 to 15 years, all exchanges will probably be decentralized, to be honest with you. So at this point, though, there is a necessary evil of centralized exchanges in the trading world. This is not the spot trading world. In the spot trading world, get your money off the exchange. In the margin trading where you need to leave contracts open, you obviously have to have some place you're putting your liquidity. So let's say you have $100,000 to trade with, and let's say in any active trade, let's say you're not putting over $10,000, then you should have probably 3 centralized exchanges where you have 10,000 on each one and you're trading with those. So even if one of them went down, okay, you can still manage that risk and you still have plenty left in your trading portfolio, even in worst case scenario. Like if the worst case scenario happened with FTX, like it did, and you lost 10%, people can live with that and you can recover from that. However, if you got 100% of your coins on there, you're wrecked. So I love the message of self-custody, and we did a really bad job in the last bull run for the most part as influencers, teaching people about self-custody and why it's so important. But there is still a necessary evil of centralized exchanges on some level today that we need.
Got it. Hey, I definitely agree with you. It's still a bit of a hybrid ecosystem, and yeah, we've got these really lofty ideals, and they were lofty ideals when Satoshi penned the white paper, however, teenage years ago. So yeah, we're still building. Definitely appreciate you spending this time with the Mining Biz community. Any last words you have for the Mining Biz community? We keep saying that, by the way. I don't mean last words to come up. I'm like parting words.
Yeah, Scott Menard of Guggenheim Partners passed away today. I don't know if people know that. They're saying last words. I just want people to know I'm not passing away. I'm not unaliving myself. I think a lot of people have been concerned about my safety through all this. And I just like to say, we've been safe the whole time. There's a roadmap that we followed with all this, and we know what we can say and what we can't say. I know sometimes it feels, especially because people see me emotional on interviews before, it feels like sometimes I'm just firing off the hip. And we've been very methodical about this with FTX from day one. And we've had help. We've had partners. We've had communities, we've had evidence, we've had the whole 9 yards that we've compiled together in a way that methodically makes sense in the way we've trudged along the trail. I would just say to everybody out there, remember self-custody, it's a great message. Don't keep your money on exchanges. If you're trading, keep a minimal amount of money on there. And that's how you're going to be safe. You're going to be able to protect yourselves. We were using Celsius like a bank account, like a bunch of idiots. And we lost $3 million on Celsius from our corporate account. And so we've had to learn this lesson too, along with everybody else. But just know every bear market, we have stuff like this that happens. You don't know what it's going to be, but you do have collapses. It was a lot of mining collapses in the last bull market. It was Mt. Gox, or in the last bear market, it was Gox in the previous one. And then you had the BitLicense right there as well in 2014. You never know how you're going to get there. Every single bull market, you're going to get overheated. In every bear market, you're going to get underheated. So right now, we believe we are entering a good time for accumulation. Not financial advice, but that's the way we're tackling everything right now. So everybody be safe out there with your money and be blessed.
Appreciate you, Ben. You're a gem.
Okay, so you said in the past that you personally diligently research every token that you promoted, but you promoted a couple of tokens that were pump and dumps. And like we saw some of those in some of the Hit Piece interview videos. So I wanted to just ask how your research process has changed in the last year.
First of all, what do you mean pump and dump? Almost everything's down 90%.
Sure. Tokens that like literally dumped the minute that they hit the market. So there were a few examples, and I wish that I had written them down.
Yeah, I would disagree with that because you're talking about projects that when we promoted projects on the channel, they were not new projects. So they were not hitting the market when we were reviewing them. So that's wrong information.
Okay. Wrong information. Okay, good. Yeah. Good to know. And then I think you may have already answered this in saying that you're potentially running for office, but a question is, what will BitBoy, what will Ben Armstrong be doing in the next bull run?
Well, the next bull run, I'm still going to be here because that's going to be 2 years away from now. So we're not going to be making any dramatic changes. And even if I do eventually run for office or whatever, if I can't do my show, I'm not going to do it. Like I'm still BitBoy Crypto. This is still my channel. I'm still crypto through and through. If we have to take up arms and go the political route, it's because the people that are in there are not getting the stuff done that needs to get done. And crypto is the most important issue of our time. But blockchain is the most important issue of our time. It's not abortion rights. It's not gay marriage. It's not tax reform. It's blockchain and crypto, because without this, we have nothing to fight against the Great Reset, and we're all going to get swallowed whole. So to me, it's that important that if it's not going to get done in the right way, then I'm going to have to step up and do it myself. And I think our community has proven that they can get behind me and we can do this. So in the next bull run, though, I'm going to be doing the same thing we're doing right now. I'm going to be doing videos. I'm going to be doing interviews. I'm going to be researching crypto projects. And we're moving more towards a level where we're not, I can assure you, in the last bull run, we talked a lot about 100x crypto projects and stuff. We're not going to be doing that in the next bull run. We're going to be trying to keep people much more safe and understand that, like, a big mistake that I made in the last bull run is I thought everything was going to go up. I thought there wasn't a lot of downside in promoting coins because eventually they were all going to go up. We're going to have an altcoin season and everybody's going to make money. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to get compounded gains. That's not what we saw. What we saw is the winners won. and the projects that were up and comers for the most part lost, and they went to zero, or they went down, or they failed. And so really preaching a message of, you don't have to get an 100x altcoin in the bull run. You need to get into a 30x from the bottom coin, like Cardano. Ethereum. Well, Ethereum went from $80 all the way up to 4,000, right? So what is that? A 45x, whatever it is from the bottom. So you don't have to get in these super speculative coins. We're moving to this place in the industry where the winners are winning, and they're going to keep winning. And I don't think we're going to have a ton of newcomers that are going to get to the level of the projects that we see right now, especially with layer one blockchains. There's a couple competitors. You have Aptos, you have Sui that are newer competitors to the space. But for the most part, you're going to see some fail like Solana, and you're going to see other ones like Cardano, like Ethereum, like Cosmos rise to the top, be big winners. And so I think that's really the biggest difference between this bull run and the last bull run, is we're going to focus more on the winners now. We're going to try to lead our audience to a place where they're not going to get dumped on, and they're not going to lose on. And that's maturity from me, and that's maturity from just being in crypto and understanding. This is what people have to understand. Like, it's about understanding the game. I understand the game much better now than I understood it 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years ago. I mean, I assume in 2 years, I'll understand it even better than I do today. So really leading our audience to a place where they're going to win, that's where I want to be. But really protecting them from big losses is, I think, even a bigger, more significant thing. And one thing we're working on as well, along with our bill, when it comes to legislation, we're also working with trying to create influencer regulation as well, so people know what they can and cannot do, and what's legal and what's not illegal, or what's legal and what's not legal.
And one thing that you've said you'll be doing, and I think that this applies, right? As you said, you will not be doing any paid promotion, even if it's disclosed.
For coins or tokens. For coins or tokens. We will never do a coin or token promotion again. No.
Okay. So but you will do a promotion for
an exchange, a wallet.
Okay.
Metaverse, maybe.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know about that. We'll see. But it's hard to do a metaverse without a token being associated.
Yeah.
So and those are things we're trying to figure out. If it's a game,
you could literally just be promoting like Facebook or Google, which is weird, just more the same.
Yeah, we want to move more towards corporate sponsors. But look, we feel very safe with Trezor Wallet being a sponsor. They're not. I'm just using that for example. Very. If it's a centralized exchange, definitely do, given the disclaimer, don't keep your money on the exchange. But like BigGet that we work with, they have zero trading fees on spot market. It's a good place to go do that. But then get your money off the exchange. I think as long as we're consistent with the message, that's what's important. But we went 11 months with zero sponsorships on the channel, and it's bear market. And we think we pulled back way too hard. We corrected very far to try to figure out what's right. And we think we now understand like what is allowed, what's not allowed. And as far as coins and tokens go, we do believe by the next bull run, you will not be allowed to do it the way that it's been done in the past. That will be illegal probably. We've been talking with politicians and Congress people about how to create smart influencer regulation. Like one idea we've thrown about is if you do, let's say you have a token that you want to promote, you get paid in the token. It's a transparent wallet everyone can see, and you cannot touch it for 90 days after the promotion, which would force people to only promote projects that they really believe in, because over that 90-day period, people will be able to dump on you left and right, and your value can go down immensely. You'll have to really have a belief in that project. Now, for me personally, even if that's legal, we will not be doing that. But we do want to create some kind of smart regulation that makes sense for people to be able to do coin promotions that makes sense. I still don't like them. I think it's a bad business model. I think it's products trying to earn money without building anything. And then when they make the money, what's the motivation? So I just believe the token promotion business in general is a flawed business. And that's what I've really learned over the last few years.
What about people who, and I'm sorry, this will be my last question. I know we're coming right up on it. What about people who only promote tokens that they purchased themselves, didn't accept anything in exchange for it, but create content around those tokens, and they're tokens that they bought themselves, they hold themselves, and they're making content because they believe in
that's
that.
That's not paid promotion though. Like that's doing a video on something you believe in. I think in those, it is important to note invested in something or not when you're talking about it, especially if you're doing a solo video on it. But at the end of the day, I think that there's a big difference between paid promotion and look, people tell me all the time, like, I think this is so funny. It's so stupid and asinine that people are like, you're doing Cardano videos because you're trying to pump your bags. Y'all freaking think I can move the price of Cardano in a bear market? What kind of idiot are you? That's not an option. I'm not making Cardano videos because I think when I make video, the price is going to go up. I'm making Cardano videos. Yes, we are investing in Cardano, but we're making Cardano videos because we believe in the long-term potential of Cardano. We believe it's going to eventually pass Ethereum. So conviction, yes, we have to have people that make videos based on their conviction. Without that, then what do you really have?
Can I ask also just to associate with that? I realize you're up against a deadline here. So what about the private sector? Is it possible that businesses and that markets can sort through this problem on their own? Is it possible?
Absolutely not.
Selfishly, that's what I'm working on also in the private sector.
0%. 0%. 0%.
So because what you're describing with a 90-day lockup for the benefit of the audience is otherwise known as a SAFT, which is similar to in the tech investment sector.
No, it's different. It's different. It's different because a SAFT is for a new token that's launching. This would be for a token that's already launched and you're promoting. So it's not. Let
me finish what I was going to say there, because the wording would actually be the same. In the equity, so the startup equity market, it's just called a simple agreement for future equity. In the token market, simple agreement for future tokens. It has nothing to do with whether or not it's launching. It has everything to do with whether or not the person is going to be compensated in the future. So that's the fundamental nature of that SAFT agreement, is whether or not that person is going to receive them and whether or not they are going to sell them within a certain amount of period, or whether or not there's a vesting period, in the same way that like the CEO of a brand new tech startup can be replaced in that first year, and they may not reach their what's called a vesting cliff and be able to receive the full payout of the equity that they thought was theirs. The same can be true within a crypto startup as well, or any kind of blockchain related project where different team members or like the DAO structure getting in early is like totally to your benefit or whatever, like get rewarded disproportionately by joining DAOs early on. But like with a SAFT, this is totally something that's possible just by having a restrictive covenant or a restrictive agreement between the parties that are involved. And what you're talking about by way of creating new federal regulation that governs whether or not anybody can say anything about cryptocurrency tokens, it could be done in the private sector. I'm just throwing that out there.
It absolutely cannot. Kobe talks about it a lot. I really like what he says on this. He calls it the poison chalice. Every time you have a bull run, you're going to get people that are creating content that this is their ticket to making money. And they see people in the past that have done it. And they believe that this is the way that they're going to become a millionaire in the future, which, by the way, we made about $1 million on sponsored videos. We made about $20 million last year. Okay. So people that believe that sponsored videos were the way that we became millionaires, it's absolutely not true. Okay. However, this is the way that people think they're going to get their ticket every time. You get people that come in at the wrong time trying to buy things, looking for shortcuts. So they're looking for these 100x coins, and they're looking for these coins that are advertised and hyped and heavily pushed, and then they lose. The influencers are losing because they're getting pumped and dumped on, and some of them do pump and dump. But for the most part, for me, whatever happened on our videos, the teams would be selling. The teams were selling on top of us. We received Bitcoin and ETH for most of our sponsored videos we did. We didn't even own most of the tokens. That was just the agreement we had to keep us from being able to be called pump and dumpers. However, that doesn't matter.
So I'm kind of wondering, in scenario, I'm sorry for the interruption, but in that scenario of the team dumping on you, even if there were some kind of federal regulation that required you to wait for 90 days, all that would do is still just bind your hands and 100%. Not prevent them from dumping on you.
That's why I'll never do it. That's why even if it's legal, I won't do it. It's the token promotion business is a flawed business model to start, period. You can never convince me that there is a way to do it that makes sense. There may be a way to do it that's legal, but it's a bad business model and it must be stopped, because all it does is it preys on new people coming in, and it preys on influencers who are getting power. It preys on those two people, and everybody in the background, they make all the money. The people that get hurt are the retail investors and the influencers that are pushing it. And so that's why I think, it's got to be stopped, and it's not going to stop on its own because there's too much money on the line. And I believe it needs to be stopped. And I understand like being anti-regulation, but the fact is, when you look at stock influencers, they have regulation to go by. Why do we not? And I think that's really where things come into play, is we need smart regulation. Nobody thinks that the stock influencers, their hands are tied by what they can talk about. The regulation is pretty smart over there.
Their hands are tied because of they're geo-fenced. Crypto isn't geo-fenced. So you can always talk about, depending on where your corporate formation or where your nexus of business operation is, you can always talk about crypto somewhere else in the world. Stock influencers can't do that. They're stuck with the NASDAQ. They can't go talk about Korean exchanges.
That's fair. But regardless, I think at the end of the day, what people need to walk away with is that it's a flawed business model. It doesn't work for anybody except for the teams. The teams are the only people that get an advantage in the business model. So influencers, you should want to be protected from this.
All right. Awesome, man. I appreciate letting me derail this and really take you really far over time, man.
I gave you all a 10-minute extra buffer because I knew it would probably go over. So I'm good. I got it.
Much appreciated. Thank you for your time, Ben.
All right. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.